Hi, Amanda. Okay, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. Okay, this is fundraising for the ask. I'm hoping that you will enjoy this this webinar. We have several slides to present, and we'll get started. Before we get started, this presentation is being recorded. The recording and slides can be emailed to you upon request. And if you have any questions, you can chat them, and I will answer all your questions in the formal Q&A at the end of the presentation. Hopefully the light is not too bad. I'm having a little trouble with the lighting, so we'll figure that out later. So here's a little bit about me. I studied political science and public administration. I attained a nonprofit management certification from Harvard Business School. And for the last 25 years, I worked in the nonprofit industry in direct services, operations, and executive leadership. In 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer and felt I needed to retire. Since then, I've been helping people take their nonprofits to the next level. So a little bit about what I do. I do workshops, board retreats, webinars, coaching, and consulting. So let's get started with our presentation here. Who will benefit from this webinar? Nonprofit CEOs who feel that their board members just don't get it. There's a lot of those out there. Nonprofit board chairs seeking to inspire their board to fundraise, and anyone looking to enhance fundraising. So let's get into it. There's 3 ways to ask for money. It's person to person, telephone, and mail. Those are your 3 ways to ask. Person to person is always better. It's the most effective method, particularly when peers does the asking. So what does that mean? That means someone who knows, who is in the same, who floats in the same circle as that person, who socializes with that person, who may have a personal relationship with them. Those are the ones that's the most effective way to do the face-to-face. Face-to-face should be used with your top prospects. So you define what your top prospects are. There are people most likely that have a relationship with your organization. There are people who have the potential to give, but let me start back again. They have a relationship with your organization and they have the potential to give at a large amount. You define what a large amount is. Some organizations, just depends, $500 and above are going to get a face-to-face ask, or peer is going to ask. Some organization that could be $10,000 and above. It just really depends on your organization. And a team of 2 is effective. Now, the donor will not feel like that you're ganging up on them. It's usually, when I say a team of 2, is usually, if you're in an organization, it's usually the peer, the person who has, floats in the same circle as that person, and a staff person. And this kind of helps because the staff person can answer any detailed questions they have about the program, and provide mission and data and all that information. Whereas the other person is there because they're their peer. They're either, and they know something about your organization. Of course, they would not be there asking for money if they didn't know something about your organization. But that balance of the 2 helps the donor get to know all the intricate details and get all their questions asked. And so don't feel like you're a gang of 2. It really is the most effective way to do this. The next way, most effective way, is telephone. Now, telephone you would use to renew gifts from current donors, to upgrade gifts, or to make special appeals. Nothing is going to really take away from the face-to-face ask. Telephone, again, is used to renew gifts from current donors, to upgrade gifts, or to make special appeals. And then you move into mail appeals. Your mail appeals are direct mail. It's impersonal appeal to a large list of unqualified prospects. I would write this down if I was you. If you're new to direct appeal, you can do Send Gem. And basically what that does is that's a website that allows you to send a very targeted mailing to a geographical area. And so you can actually go into that website and say, okay, I want to send everybody in this geographical area a direct mail appeal. So you can actually segment your audience by address or by zones, and see which zone you get the most from. Or you can do select mail. This is personal appeal to individuals acquainted with your nonprofit. So how do you do a select mail? So we all have special events where you do collect that information, whether it's a gala, whether it's a 10K, whether it's whatever that event is. You are actually collecting addresses at these events. Now, once you have those addresses, what do you do with them? You can do a select mail. You can send this to them. They are acquainted with your nonprofit because they've come to the event. They've supported your nonprofit in some way. So now you can actually send a mail appeal to them and take them to the next level of giving directly to your organization. So don't just have your 10K or your gala and just rest those mailing addresses. Actually use them to follow up to do a select mail appeal to the potential donors. I would say they're already donors because they have come to your event or supported your 10K or supported your tournament or whatever that is. Now you take it to the next level and send them a mail appeal. A combination of the method is usually most effective. So you're gonna have to be a little persistent. So you can make a telephone call, then you can do a visit, and then after the visit you send the letter, and then followed by another telephone call. So it's not just because you set up that visit that they're going to say yes right then and there. It's going to take a little bit of work. And I've been in enough of these to know that what most people do is they say, well, let me think about it and get back to you. And then a couple of days pass or a week pass. That's when the peer or someone that they know needs to pick up the phone and call them and follow back up with them, send a letter, and then send another phone call. Okay, so the special role of the board. Now, a lot of board members don't like, I have a board member who says she doesn't like fundraising, but that is a role of the board. And there's many ways for a board to fundraise. I'm gonna go over a little bit of that. Board members can be door openers. I think that's fundraising as well. They can open the door to gifts. That's a part of fundraising. They might not ever do the actual ask, but they can open the door and be that one that makes the introduction. They can be the thank you. That is a part of fundraising as well. But specifically for fundraising for the ask, we ask board members to solicit. They're going to solicit major donors. It is important that your board member, if you recall, I talked about peer-to-peer. It's important that your board member you have the right board members, because then those board members could be that peer-to-peer ask. So they're going to solicit major donors. The board member is going to solicit friends and family. They're going to support the activities that you do. So if you have done that direct mail appeal, they're going to support that. And they're going to make their own personal gift, or company is going to make a gift. So that is the role of the board in fundraising for the ask. Again, if you have that board member say, I'm just not good at fundraising, don't forget that you can use them to be a door opener. They can make the connection to your organization. They can actually get the meeting, and you can bring them to the meeting, but they won't do the ask. You as the staff can do the ask, or they can follow up with a thank you. So just imagine that someone sends a gift to your organization and the board member calls them within a day, within 24 hours, to say thank you for that gift. Well, that board member has actually participated in fundraising, because that most people, one of the things why people don't give again is because they never got a thank you. So that is a clear role that the board member can play in this. So one of the things that you have to be very aware of is each of the appeals have to be a personal appeal, but you have to determine your donor's motivation. It is not about why you think that donor should give, or what is motivating that donor. And you have to meet their needs. So it would be foolish of you to go in and talk to a donor about a tax savings when that is not why they're giving. They're giving because they're very passionate about the arts, or they're giving because they are very philanthropic and they want to support your mission. So you need to go in there talking about your mission. You don't need to go in there talking about IRS determinations and all this tax write-off. It's not going to match up, and you're going to lose them. So a lot of this is kind of doing your homework in advance, letting the donors know, that you know who they are and that you are willing to help them and make their passion and make their reason why they want to give in the foremost front. So the other thing is individual donors. Again, we talked about this kind of may give because for consistency with their personal values, to receive something because of altruism. They may give in gratitude. Some give in response to guilt, and because they're asked, and tax deduction is seldom the primary reason. So I want to repeat that. Tax deduction is seldom the primary reason. But I will tell you that most people give because they're asked, especially if you're doing a face-to-face. It's very hard to say no face-to-face. Let me just start with that. It's very hard to say no face-to-face. So they are asked. A lot of people, that's one of the data points that people say they don't give because they are not asked. And a lot of people get nervous about the ask. And I will tell you, this is my tip to you if you get nervous about the ask. I always go in and saying that, you know what, I'm not asking for myself. I am asking for the mission. I'm asking for whether it's children that you're serving, whether it's homeless that you're serving, whether it's people with mental illness that you're serving. You're not asking for yourself, you're asking for your clients. And so that always kind of got my nerves, because even as a seasoned fundraiser, I still get nervous. And that's one of the mantras that I tell myself. I'm not asking for Sabrina. I am asking for this youth. I am asking for this family. I am asking for whatever your mission is. That's what you're going through the door asking for.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Veronica.
Okay. The taxes, are they still able to tax deduct everything? I don't know how.
I know with the new tax code, according to my CPA, it's at a higher threshold. I think you have to get like at least $25,000 in a year. But
You want it?
some people still want it for their taxes. It is a higher threshold though.
Okay.
Okay. Institutional donors also have reasons for giving. Part of the asking strategy is to learn what motivates them. Now I have 2 slides in there I talk about learning what motivates the donor, because it's very important that you learn what motivates them. Again, learn what motivates them. Importance of what was that?
You're going to give us an idea what motivates the donor?
Yes, if we go back to this slide right here, what individual donors may give, these are the reasons why they give. There is just fits with their value to receive something because of altruism, in gratitude, in response to guilt, and because they're asked. And usually those are the reasons why people give. And again, tell them because of tax purposes. So it's important, the importance of volunteer preparation, orientation and practice, and how to make the ask will reduce anxiety. So act out some ask scenarios with your board and volunteer. I think this is the way that you prepare your board to do the ask. Use some time. I always say it's very important to use your board meeting and organize your agenda in such a way that you put board education on your agenda. And one of the things that you can do on that agenda is do some scenarios for the ask. And you go through your script and you say, well, you know, you act it out. Well, what would you say if someone said, well, not at this time, or let me ask my wife, or let me ask my husband. And you go through those scenarios and you script them out with responses. So that reduces some of their anxiety when they do make the ask, because you've already went through this through your board process, or through your orientation with your volunteers and your board members. Again, this is what gets me through. Asking for funds to carry out your mission is an honorable thing to do. Lives are changed and donor needs are met. So I cannot stress that enough. That is the one thing that reduces my anxiety when I go in to make the ask. It's to say, I'm not asking for Sabrina. I am asking for these youth who are in need, or for the the homeless, or whatever your mission is. Asking for funds to carry out your mission is an honorable thing to do. And I cannot stress that enough. Lives are changed and donor needs are met. Now, I used this method for over 15 years as a CEO of a nonprofit organization. The board raised over $2 million each year and had a give or get policy of $5,000 each. My organization was located along the Mexico-Texas border in the 3rd poorest county in the United States. So I'm going to open it up for any questions that you have about fundraising for the ask. If you have any questions, please let me know. It really is a short presentation. I try to be very conscious of people's time, because I know that it's lunchtime and you all have to eat. And I try to do these, I call them quick NARs. I shouldn't call them webinars. I call them quick NARs. They last about 15 to 30 minutes. But I want to know if anybody have any questions out there.
You raised $2 million each year for the organization which you were at for the last 15 years. What was your most successful way that you raised that type of money?
Well, the most successful way that I raised that type of money was, if I'm honest, every year it fluctuated or changed.
Right. Right.
The last couple of years, it really was, we expanded our grants because we were not good with grants, and we got more state grants, not federal grants. But prior to that, it really was about building relationships in the community, and it was about individual giving. And because I think that where we're located, people don't really pursue individual gifts. And the
Right.
way, and when I say individual gifts, I simply mean I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you to support my mission straight out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not talking about special events. I think we tend to wrap everything in special events. And special events, of course, they're great, but I think special events build awareness, especially if you're not doing it right and you're spending more on the event than you normally would. I think when you do a special event, you have to look at the return on investment, and you have to make sure the staff time has been accounted for. You know, you got to pay for the venue, or if you get that donated, great. Food, all those things. And I think that we kind of miss the boat when it comes to individual giving. A lot of times individual giving is overlooked. And so I think that it's very important that we start focusing in on individual gifts. And I would tell you, it was not natural to me. I think the fact that we had a capital campaign and that opened the door for individual gifts. So we did not want to lose those donors once the building was built. Of course, you still have to maintain all of that. And so that kind of opened the door for the individual gifts. So individual gifts, I think, is the way to go, because the other thing is, if you think about individual gifts, people don't necessarily leave their community. Once they are in support of your organization, they are in support of your organization. Whereas companies might change their focus, a foundation might be funding this one year and not funding, their focus might change. And same thing with government. They may be very passionate about your mission one day, but then their focus is going to change. Whereas individuals tend to be unrestricted gifts. And so I think that's very key. And I will go back to saying it's a hard transition sometimes for the board. And I will spend a little time talking about, again, just because a board member says they're not comfortable with the ask does not mean that they're not a part of the fundraising team, because you have to have people that are door openers that can open the door to relationships. You have to have people that are part of the stewardship team, which is going to make that call and say thank you. All that stuff is going to kind of set you apart, because if the door opener is a peer, then they can get the door open. I'll just say this. I had a board member who always talked about she's not a good fundraiser, but she opened the door to so many gifts. I would say probably over $500,000 came because she got a meeting with someone and was just open that door. And then I had board members who, you know, I would send them an email and I would say, such and such just gave, this is the telephone number. And they would pick up the phone and they would call that person and say, you know, I'm a board member with the Boys and Girls Club, and I want to thank you so much for giving. And that sets you apart, because most people don't do that.
Yeah, when one of my board members brings me supply stuff all the time, and what he gives us all year long is worth a lot of money.
Yes.
So I don't ever harass him, but every event, everything I need, he's the first one that goes out and asks for it. So
Yep.
I get it.
Yep. So does anyone have any questions? This is my first time actually using Zoom for my webinars. I would love feedback on that. If you have any questions, if you could put it in the chat so I can get used to using the chat function. And if you need me to go over anything else, I will. I do tend to speak very fast, but I really would like for people to understand that the face-to-face ask, the peer-to-peer, face-to-face ask is the best way to garner solicitations. It is going to be the most efficient use of your time. It is not organizing an event. The research is in getting to know your donor and seeing why they're motivated, and then going in there with someone and making the ask. So Now that we've covered how to fundraise for the ask, I would like to further my discussion with you. And I have free consultations, and I'd like to thank y'all for attending my webinar. If you're interested in going deeper into this and would like to explore how all this relates to you, you can book a call with me. Of course, the call is free. On that call, we can discuss how an engaged board relates to fundraising, because you do have to have an engaged board to help you with this. It can't be just the development officer doing this. You have to have your board involved in this, and how to train your board for fundraising success. We talked about that a little bit, doing these scenarios. And also there's a way that you can structure your agenda, that board education is always on the agenda, and your agenda still doesn't have to go over an hour and a half. If you're doing more than an hour and a half on your agenda and you're not including education, then you can tweak your agenda and do some different things. And then how you can apply the format we discussed and working onwards together. So any questions? Again, if there's no questions out there, thank you, Ms. Veronica, for your interaction. Thank you for asking questions. It's very much appreciated. If anybody else have any questions, that is going to be my presentation. I would like for you to follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. At Supporting World Hope is where you'll find me. And on Instagram, you'll find me at the Nonprofit Expert. And my website is www.supportingworldhope.com. So if there's no questions, without further ado, I hope you feel like you got something from this. I know I do quick NARs. I try to be very sufficient with your time so that you can go eat lunch. Julie and I encourage you to go eat lunch. So because we all need to eat. But thank y'all so much. If no one else has any questions, again, my consultations are free. You can pick up the phone, you can call me. I can spend 30 minutes with you on the phone or in person. If you're local here, I love coming out and doing conversations. I know we can't do that right now, but the phone is available. So thank you so very much, and y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.
Sabrina, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm learning, so I don't know how to quite log off here yet. Bye.
Click leave meeting.
Thank you, Julie.